Hello everyone. Today I'm very happy to say that Multipick have released their Elite Locksport community pick set. For the last 6 months I've been in contact with Multipick, discussing the creation of a kit that I believe will pick through 99% of the locks from white to black. For any aspiring lock sporter, that is to say someone who will be picking in a controlled environment where, a lock will be mounted or on a vise in some way with easy access, this is everything that you need with no frills, no fluff, no filler. This will get you into 99% of those locks. So, as I said, for the last 6 months, I've been consulting with people on the Lockpickers United Discord, in the Australasian Pickers Discord. Basically, we've cut down from all of the tools that we have used from Multipick, which is basically everything. We have cut it down to the most important things that will get you into as many locks as possible. There is a ton of kits on the market, even from Multipick, where I feel like there is just too much stuff. I don't care about getting 5 rakes. I don't care about getting these hook profiles that may or may not fit in some keyways. What I want is results, and what I want is something that will get me into any lock I put myself in front of. So, what's inside the kit? Well, there are 3 different widths of hook. They go in 0.6, 0.5, and 0.4 millimeter. These 3 thicknesses are very important because in a set like this, where you want to be able to pick everything possible, and especially for the higher security locks, you want your picks to have the best possible feedback. So everyone who has dabbled in either pick making or in the sort of artisanry of pick thicknesses knows that the thicker the pick, the more feedback you get. That's just truth. That's how physics works. The thicker you are, or your pick is, the more the vibrations will carry into your pick, and equally so with a snug fitting tensioner, the more that you'll fit in a tensioner. So we have 3 thicknesses exactly for that. We have 0.6 for the keyways that are super open. This could be anything from, an American keyway to, a Lockwood keyway, that are all very standard and have very open and non-paracentric keyways. But unfortunately, not all locks in life have a keyway that is not paracentric. For example, let's take a look at this. This is a TK5 from Icon. It's a very paracentric keyway. It's a bit Yale style with the sort of curve this way, but I would challenge you to be able to fit a 0.6 millimeter hook straight from the bottom. Let's get some focus here. It just doesn't fit. It gets stuck. Let's say you go something a little bit lower in depth. It just doesn't work. Whilst, yes, it clears the warding from the side, it just doesn't fit. It's too big. So, you try something else. Let's see. 0.5 millimeter. Well, that now works, doesn't it? You can pick through the warding that way. If you have something even tighter, you might need 0.4 millimeter. There are few keyways that actually require 0.4 millimeter, but when you need it, you need it. And Multipick does a great job with their 0.4 millimeter picks. That's 15 thousandths, sorry, I should say. 0.6, 23 thousandths, 0.5, about 20 thousandths, and 0.4, about 15 thousandths. These picks are engraved with 0.4, and they have a little bit extra shank at the base, but not at the tip, so that you can have some extra rigidity in your pick. Because no matter what, 0.4 millimeters is a thin pick. It doesn't matter who makes it or what steel it's made of, that will bend if you don't respect your picks. Speaking of the steel that Multipick uses, on their website they state that it is an ingenious spring steel. Publicly, they have never discussed what steel it actually is, but independent analysis has shown that it is most likely not 301 high yield. What does this mean? Well, whatever steel the Multipick is using is, in some ways, in my opinion, better than 301 high yield, because Multipick's picks, whenever you put pressure on them, they just simply do not flex. They are extremely rigid picks. Again, if you don't respect your picks, you will bend picks. That's just the nature of metal. But what they do is that they do not hold any flex in them. So when you're with heavy tension, maybe you're using a 0.6mm pick, you're tensioning quite heavily in some sort of tapered keyway with tapered pins, you will find that these picks will not be bending on you. Say if you're on a piece of warding and you're flicking around the warding, they will not bend. They will stay straight as an arrow. So other than the pin tumbler picks, which there are 4, that is the PN06 as well as the V06 and the F06, the PN31, V31 and F31, the PN07, F07 and V07, and finally the PN05, the F05 and the V05. That's a short, medium with a pointy tip, medium with a rounded tip, and a deep with a rounded tip. I thought most specifically that this pick deserves its place because not only is it extremely good in paracentric keyways where there is a low cut gatekeeping a high cut, but also for specifically the Australian bilock and other slider locks like it, this pick is the single best profile on the market. It will open every single bilock if you are skilled enough to open them. There is no competition with that profile, in my opinion. Moving on to the dimple picks, we have 4 of them, and these are in the new Multipick Community Edition handles. These are larger than Multipick's original handles, which are quite thin at the working end. Why is that? Well, these have been made larger so that it's more ergonomic in your hands if you have larger hands, and also so that there is less fatigue in your hands in a long picking session. These handles are excellent, and well, I've stopped using these handles, so I've just got this one, which is from, let's see, 2021. So this is a 4-year-old pick, just simply because I find these so much more comfortable to use. You get an Allen wrench, because these tips are removable if ever you bend or break them somehow, and let me tell you, Multipick dimple picks are the best in class, in my opinion, in the world. Just straight out of the packet, you can't get better than that. If for some reason you break a tip, they sell individual tips and you can replace them. Outside of that, let's talk about tensioners, because this tensioner selection, if you know anything about picking, you will know that it is said that a good selection of tensioners matters much more than your selection of picks. That is why we have 13 tensioners, let's hope I counted that correctly, in various thicknesses from 0.6mm to 1.3mm. I initially was thinking about adding more tensioners, but both in the need to reduce the amount of products, because I don't care for filler, and after a long amount of deliberation with some of the best pickers in the world, we've realized that despite the fact that these and the ones by Locknoob are useful, they're not that important. We don't need these sorts of turners when you're picking 99% of dimple locks. If you need a special turner, you're either going to make it yourself or these will do the job. First of all, we have two pry bar style ones. We first have the 0.6mm pry bar. It's extremely thin, but sometimes you need something this thin, especially in tiny locks where you don't have enough space down the bottom of the keyway to be able to fit anything, so you'll want something like this. This is the thinnest tensioner that Multipick does, and I've used it on occasion. This will get you opens when you need something this thin, and let me tell you, when you need it, you need it. Next is a similar one in 0.7mm. This one is 2 solid ends compared to the serrated teeth version. This one actually specifically I've used in Medico M3 and M4. The large tip here actually is really useful for those super open keyways where, unfortunately, even if you have something really thick, if they don't have the volume down here, you won't be able to open anything. So the solid ends are very useful, and 0.7mm, sometimes you really will need that. Next, we've got a set of 6 tensioners with 9 tension ends. These are the flush set of 3 in 0.8, 1.3, and 1mm. Let me order those for you. If you have a lock like a Euro that isn't recessed, or you have some sort of mortise or a padlock that isn't recessed, these are what you're going to want. You put this in the top of the keyway because if it's flush faced, this will get direct contact and give you the best possible control of the core. Especially in higher security picking, which this kit is designed for, you will need these tensioners. And as a companion to that, we have the double-ended versions of the same thing for the slightly recessed and the deep recessed. There are some padlocks and some normal, mortises or quite large moguls that have things like dust covers and things like that. That's when you'll need either a flush-faced end or a non-flush-faced end, which gives you just enough depth to reach into the keyway, or a very deep end to keep the dust cover open, or go into a very deep keyway like a military Medico. We have also 4 tensioners, 3 from Christian Holler and 1 from Christina Palmer. They're very similar in make and model. There is 0.8, 1, 1.2, and 1.3 millimeters here, which you can probably see. Let me squeeze them together. And these are, as they say, they are tensioners for if you prefer your tensioners a bit more easy to control. I've used these in all sorts of locks, from high security locks where you have to float them in things like gins, or just in general usage even at the bottom of the keyway. These are extremely short ends where you'll be able to control the core as if it was a flush face turner. Finally, and the only specifically bottom of the keyway tool, we have a Euro style end and a thick end on this double-sided turner. Sometimes you need something like this, especially specifically for some dimple locks that need you to have a thick tensioner that is easier put like this than flat like this. This is the sort of tool that we all compromised on. This is the tool that will either work for you in bottom of the keyway, or if for some reason none of these tools work, this will fit in for you. It has a long end and a short end, because sometimes you need a longer end as well as one with a taper if you need to have just a little bit extra movement and space in the core. So that's the kit itself, but I'm sure you're wondering, well, what were the compromises? If this is the kit that you recommend to anyone with no fluff and with all of the bells and whistles that you need to pick, but none of the less useful stuff. What did you think was less useful? Well, things that I didn't find useful were specifically American-style picks. What do I mean by that? Well, in North America, you have these picks with very thick shanks and with quite low profiles at the end. Sometimes they're quite a bit larger than this, even in terms of their shaft thickness. Why is that? Well, for American keyways and for extremely open keyways, I find no reason not to simply use these picks in 0.6mm. If you're going to be doing something precision-based, like Locksport, if you're going to learn to pick locks, it is better to learn and start with something that you're going to use forever, instead of a flat-tipped pick like this, where maybe as you go up into more paracentric keyways, this will simply not cut it. It will not fit through the warding. Furthermore, these shafts are massive compared to these picks here. You can see the tip there, so much smaller. Let me overlay that, and we'll go from the back. You can see that the shafts are so much larger in American picks. If you're in America, Multipick sells kits curated by Sandman. I wanted this to be a sort of companion to those for European pickers who will not find any use out of those very thick shank picks, because quite frankly, they are not what you're after if you're in Europe. Other things that we compromise on, obviously dimple turners. Again, I don't find these useful at all. If you're going to pick high security dimple locks, I'll tell you what, one of these is going to work, and if not that, then one of these pry bars will work. Other profiles that we did not include are rakes, because rakes are for either quick entry or competition picking, neither of which are in the scope of this kit. This is for controlled environments, as I said, in your vise at home. Other than that, I really don't know what more we can add to make a perfect Locksport kit. This is Multipick. It's a brand that's been around for over 10 years now in Locksport. When I first started picking up picking in 2015, 2016, these guys were already the best of the best, and they still maintain that reputation today. Other than that, I have nothing else to say other than that this kit is excellent. I'd like to thank everyone in Lockpickers United. I'd like to make specific thanks to Rain and the Gaming Bug, who were both probably the two most vocal people when I had consulted them with the profiles that they thought were necessary. I'd like to thank Rain specifically for making mention of the champion tensioners and its ilk, and I'd like to thank Gaming Bug for suggesting that I change the handles to the community handles, because these are excellent. Other than that, thank you everyone for watching. I'll put the product link down in the description. What can I say? This is some of the best of the best. If you're just getting into really high security picking, but you don't have this sort of artisan set like this, which will get you into everything, well, this is the one to get. What more can I say? Thank you everyone for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day.